Hey, welcome back to Crimes and Closets. This is Beth in my closet in North Carolina.
And this is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Beth. How's it going?
It's good. We're gearing up for this storm that's coming our way as of recording day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tonight and then tomorrow. And our homecoming game got moved, and your homecoming game might get rained out. Yay.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I have a feeling they'll play anyway, but
yeah,
I will not be attending because I do not have a player in the game. So I would have gone just because it would have been because they do a whole parade literally through our neighborhood, 2 houses down. There's a gate that they all come through, parade through our neighborhood on floats, the bands, all the teams. And
they have floats and everything.
Yeah, they decorate the floats and they throw candy at everybody, and this neighborhood is completely filled. But anyway, they do this whole thing. And this year, my littlest, because he's on the junior team, like a feeder team, he gets to participate. His team has a float. So he's going to be on the parade, and then he probably would have wanted to go to the game, which I would have then attended, but not if it's raining. I'm not going to sit in the rain unless I actually have a player on the field.
100%. I also will not be sitting in the rain. We are going to the game, but if it starts raining, I'm out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I saw her little one play football in a game. There's Phoenix, the bird.
Well, they won't be able to hear him once we get him on.
Oh, my bad.
Once I do like the background noise stuff, he goes away, as far as I can tell.
He's talking to me.
Yes.
He misses me, I bet, because we just get along so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was there. I was there for Pedal the Cause. Not this yesterday, but the Sunday before. And it was awesome. And we're going to tell you all about it over on our Patreon. So make sure you stay tuned for that if you're a Patreon member. Or if you want to hear about it, come join.
Right. Just join. But thank you to those of you who are on this feed that did donate, even if you weren't Patreon members. We appreciate it. It was
absolutely
a good amount of money that we raised, which we will tell about over on Patreon.
Yeah, it was a great amount of money that we raised. And there was all kinds of hitches and the giddy up when it came to it. So it's a whole thing. So we'll tell everybody about it over there. And we do have 2 new Patreons over there. We have Laurie C. and Chloe. So welcome in over there, guys.
Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for joining us. It's my birthday month.
Well, almost.
Well, when this drops, yes, in one day, tomorrow, it will be October. And then it's my birthday month. And we have our collab with What Happens in the Woods coming up on my birthday. It's on my birthday.
Yeah, this one, ours will drop on your birthday. Theirs, we aren't sure just yet exactly which day they'll do, but somewhere either right before or right after ours, theirs will drop.
Yeah. And it's Jess's birthday too over there. So that's awesome.
Same B-Day.
Same B-Day.
And it'll be the same duos. Jess and I will be on our feed, and Bryce and Beth will be on their feed for their stories. So you have to listen to both. You can't just listen to one.
100%. Agreed upon that. What's new with you besides parades?
Nothing. I mean, I feel like it's been a lot of stuff happening, and now things are somewhat slowing down. Then things will pick up. It's it's waves. It comes in waves.
It's a tailspin.
I'll have a week off of things and be like, woohoo, great. This is a fun week because it's nothing. And then I'll be like, not catching my breath.
100%. I definitely have been this week has been bananas. So, but that's okay. Yeah. And we took a couple weeks off in September, which was really nice. It was a nice break.
Yes.
Because, those serial killers are rough, and the survivors were great over on Patreon. Yeah, you can go back and listen if you join.
They were good stories, and very, not very similar, but there was similar aspects in them.
Yeah.
So they were cool to tell. So
very much. Okay, well, that's all the biz.
Wow. Okay.
Do we want to do a crime time?
Well, some people might be happy that this is not short.
I know.
I'm ready for a crime.
All right, let's get to it. Okay, friends. and my extra friend, Miss Kelly.
Yes.
We have a listener suggestion today by our Instagram friend, Happy Catastrophe. Do you remember her, Christy?
I do remember that name. I don't remember who it is, but
well, I don't think it says her actual name, but that's just fine with me because I resonate with Happy Catastrophe all day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So she's suggested cases before. I think she's a closet sister. Not sure. So today we are heading back to Michigan. We spent much of our time in 2024 in Michigan, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
But today we are going, don't go there. Yeah.
I've never been there, have I? Maybe on a layover. I don't think
it doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly.
Airports don't count.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to a town called Norton Shores. Norton Shores is in Muskegon County, just west of Grand Rapids, and it sits right on Lake Michigan. It actually looks really pretty.
Well, there are some really neat lake towns. I have a friend who went there for a work trip and then was convinced she was going to buy a house there because she thought it was so great.
But it's Michigan.
I know, but she still
talked herself out of that at some point, right?
Well, then she went down to Naples, Florida for a work trip and ended up buying a house while she was there. So, yeah.
Good girl.
Most people do.
Right. Okay, so this is the case of Timothy Ferguson. Timothy Richard Ferguson was born August 6, 2006 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome in. His parents were Eric and Shanda. Timothy had two older brothers, Nolan and Paul, and an older sister, Millie. Millie.
Oh, I like Millie.
It's a good name. He also had a younger brother named Gabriel, but much younger, so he plays in later. Timothy, as a kid, was diagnosed with autism, and he had some speech and motor impairments as a result of that and required medication in order to control moods, behavior, just different things, pretty standard, but he was able to care for himself with supervision.
Can I interrupt you right now? If something happens to Timothy, I'm leaving.
Bye.
No.
Okay. So he was a pretty high-functioning young man, but not live alone, couldn't really be left alone, that kind of thing. Timothy is described as being very funny and very smart. It was said that he could take anything apart and put it back together with no instruction, no help from anybody. He loved puzzles. He loved mechanics. He just understood that stuff and spent time doing that.
Oh, man, I would get along with him so well.
I know, right? Christy has been known to take apart PlayStations and
trying to fix them. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Dishwashers. Computers.
Dishwashers.
She's our pod geek squad. She fixes all my things from remotely somehow. I don't know how she does it. He had very bright, beautiful eyes and a very lovely smile. Timothy and his sister Millie were really close in age. I think they were only a half a year to 2 years apart, and the two of them did everything together. She said that she was the big sister and pretended like she protected Timothy, but really she was the one that relied on him, which I think is really sweet.
Yes, it's very sweet.
Timothy actually did pretty well in school, with assistance and that kind of thing, and he liked art. So was a very creative young man. Timothy's parents, Eric and Shanda, separated and divorced, and Timothy actually stayed with his father, Eric.
Okay.
Shanda moved to Oklahoma. Actually, I think they all moved to Oklahoma, but irrelevant. She remarried a man named Adam Vander Ark, and the two of them had a son together that named Gabriel. So this is the youngest, and it's their half-brother. So Nolan, the oldest son, was married. He lived on his own, and Millie and her mom didn't get along, so she moved out to either live with dad or a family member. I'm not entirely sure. So Shanda, her husband, Paul, and the youngest, Gabriel, were living with her. Okay, Timothy was living with his dad and his new wife and her children. I believe there were 4 of them. And they lived somewhere in Florida. When Timothy got into his teen years, his behavior got increasingly difficult to handle, probably because he was getting bigger And so it was harder for them to manage. And Timothy's father said that he was having a hard time controlling Timothy and keeping the home safe for him and for the other children in the home. So Timothy's dad reached out to Shanda and told her that he was going to have to make some arrangements to like get Timothy out of the home. And Shanda just said, well, I'll take him. So it was said that Shanda never should have been given custody of Timothy because in 2009 and 2012 in Oklahoma, she was investigated by CPS for allegations of abuse and neglect.
Oh, geez.
Specifically for Timothy, but I think all of the children. And they were actually removed from the home at some point, but then given back.
Right.
So it was recommended that Shanda's parental rights be terminated, but they never officially were. And I don't know why, but we know the system is what the system is.
Right. And is that part of the reason why Millie left? Because she was just like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yes. Yes. So it was said that Eric, dad, had made an arrangement that Shanda would move out and that he would keep the children, which I think actually was the catalyst for their divorce. Like he was like, you need to go because you're being investigated by CPS and you're a danger to the kids. So you need to leave. And she did. And I think that's when they separated. But apparently the agreement didn't last because then she ended up getting custody of some of the kids and then eventually Timothy. In May of 2021, Shanda, her husband Adam, her oldest son Paul, Timothy, and then the youngest Gabriel moved from Oklahoma to Norton Shores, Michigan. Okay, so now they're...
when are we getting to Michigan?
We're in Michigan in 2021. We're in Michigan. So, okay. So they lived in a cute little suburban house on like this coastal town in Michigan. It actually looks almost identical to the house that Wes and I lived in when we first moved here, which totally freaked me out. Like the color is the same. The shutter color is the same. The porch looks the same. It was creepy. So Shanda was a very intelligent woman. She worked as a single mom. She put herself through college and then law school. She graduated from law school magna cum laude and was second in her class.
Okay.
Yeah. She got a job clerking for a judge in Muskegon County, Michigan. And she had just passed the bar with like flying colors and was in the process of becoming an attorney and setting up a client base for herself.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, she was like 40, early 40s at this time. So like she's doing great.
Yeah, years earlier, she was investigated for neglect and stuff.
Twice. In January of 2022, Shanda's husband, Adam, suffered from a pretty severe stroke and ended up being confined to a wheelchair. So he moved out of their home and in with his parents, who lived a county or two over, because their house was more accessible for him. I think they lived in like a ranch and their house just wasn't set up like that. So that brings us to July of 2022. Shanda worked daytime hours at the courthouse. And so 19-year-old Paul, Timothy's older brother, was put in charge of like watching over him and helping him, who he, by the way, was being homeschooled at this point because of his special needs and like behavioral issues, alleged. Because the family lived far apart, so dad's in Florida, they're in Michigan, it wasn't unusual for like months to go by without them seeing each other. Even like the older children, Shanda's older children who didn't live in the home would go pretty long periods without seeing them, especially because they didn't like her.
Well,
They didn't get along. And so they like, so they weren't coming over for Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
All right. On July 6, 2022, a 911 call was made by Shanda. Shanda claimed that she found her 15-year-old son, Timothy, unresponsive in his bed in his room. The 911 operator walked her through giving Timothy CPR. Paul can be heard in the background of the call as well. When Paul is older brother.
What was he saying though?
I mean, he was like helping her, like commenting and nothing nefarious or anything.
Okay.
When police arrived, they found that Timothy was already dead and he was pronounced deceased at the scene. Almost immediately, police treated the home like a crime scene. So Timothy was found wearing baggy clothing, a hoodie, and sweats. When they went to move him, they realized that he was literally skin and bones.
Oh, no.
His bones were protruding so much through his skin that they said you could literally count every single one. Like, not just ribs. Like, I can count the bones in your arms. I can count the bones in your back. Like, he was emaciated.
Ay. Wait, okay,
Yes.
can I ask did you say what time the 911 call was?
It was like 11:30 in the morning. 11 in the morning, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So an autopsy would reveal that this 15-year-old boy of average height, so he was about 5'8" or so, weighed only 69 pounds.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So a boy of his age and height should weigh like 130 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
I was going to say
over 60 pounds underweight.
Our kids are probably around that height. Our middle guy, your oldest, my middle guy, and he's more than that. Way more than that.
Yeah. So my son is 5'8" and he weighs 125.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure
I can't even imagine.
150, 160.
Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. So, okay. His cause of death was determined to be malnutrition and hypothermia.
What?
Oh, geez.
It's July.
Thank you. I'll get to that.
Okay.
So these are very odd findings, obviously, especially, again, it's July in Michigan. Right. Where are we getting hypothermia? Where does this play into it? I mean, the malnutrition would have killed him anyways.
Well, yeah. When he's in sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Why is he cold?
So this poor kid, 15 years old, his body was like wasted away. It's not a sudden death, right? Whatever happened to him, this did not happen suddenly. You didn't just go in one morning and we're like, what happened?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I do want to say too that there was a young child. Remember, Gabriel is living in the home. Oh, yeah. He was 7. He did not appear to have been abused or harmed or neglected, actually, at least not physically, that they could tell. So he was at his grandparents' house at the time of Timothy's death. Shanda claimed that Timothy had been on a hunger strike for several weeks and was refusing to eat, which was apparently something that he liked to do as a part of his acting out.
Okay, well, even if you have a kid like that, which is possible, if they've got some like issues going on, that they would do that. You get them help when they look like that.
Well, right, exactly, right. Again, that's what I'm saying. This did not happen like all of a sudden. You were like, "Whoa, I had no idea." Yeah. That's not what happened.
That's still neglect by not getting him help.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, yes. So she claimed that his behavior had gotten very bad when her husband had his stroke and moved out of the home. And so he kind of stopped eating. Well, now that happened in January. So she was saying that this hunger strike was like an off and on thing with him.
Okay.
So obviously this doesn't seem very plausible, and it doesn't explain so in the home, they had locks and they were locks, like padlocks and keypad locks on the pantries and on the refrigerator and freezer door.
Okay.
So if he's on a hunger strike, why would you restrict food from him? You know what I mean? And also, why is he hypothermic too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So Timothy's death was officially ruled a homicide, and police arrested Shanda and her son Paul and charged them with child abuse and murder.
I was going to say, because Paul's the one that's caring for him during the day while she's at work. So if anything, he could have been like, dude, here's some food. Here's some food.
Yeah.
Right. So also in the home, after they searched it, they found that in a basement, in a closet, truly it's like a closet that's underneath stairs. They found a tarp and a surveillance camera in it. And then they found motion detectors in various places all over the house, which was super weird.
Yeah.
They found shackles and handcuffs and restraint, items, like ropes, zip ties, things like that, all throughout the house. And then again, they had the locks, which is just all super weird. There was adult diapers. So super strange situation. And police then, so they're arrested, right? They're in custody. They're searching the home, finding all this weird stuff. They searched their phones and they found text messages between Paul and Shanda dating back to January of 2022. So 7 months before Timothy's death. So in those messages, Shanda, mom, is repeatedly instructing Paul to like do things to Timothy. Restrain him, withhold food, carry out terrible punishments for what they said was misbehavior, which it wasn't. It was an autistic child behaving as an autistic child should.
Right.
Oh, also, it was determined in his autopsy that he didn't have any of his medication in his system. So she stopped giving his medication that helped him self-regulate.
Right.
Oh, geez.
So Paul was instructed to make Timothy wear an adult diaper and restrict his bathroom use. So he was allowed to have 1 minute to pee and 2 minutes to poop. That's it. And if he didn't do it, they ripped him off the toilet.
What is it lately with the people restricting bathroom usage lately in these cases? We've had like 3 or 4 now that it's like something to do with like abuse is
massive control.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's something that you can't help physically, but they're trying to control that too. It's like the ultimate form, I feel like. It's nasty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he was made to remove his clothing and do physical labor around the house as a punishment, like naked. You have to work in the garage naked and organize that or whatever. Paul was told to make Timothy walk up and down the steps for hours and was even instructed to chase him so he couldn't slow down.
Oh my gosh.
Timothy was made to do like wall sits and remain perfectly still for hours at a time. He was only given a piece of bread with hot sauce on it to eat. And this hot sauce is like insane. So like my husband likes crazy hot sauce, like Carolina Reaper hot sauce. This hot sauce is like 5 times worse than that. Like it's not edible. You can't even smell it without your eyes watering. And this is what he was given to eat.
Why is Paul like, yeah, I'll do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually, that I had the whole entire way through. We will get to it, and then you can tell me what your opinion is on it. So if Timothy was able to go 30 minutes without drinking water after eating this bread soaked in hot sauce, then he could have a regular piece of bread.
Did he even understand that?
Right.
That he had to go 30 minutes? Like, was he like even able to really grasp that?
Well, I think a medicated, Timothy did, but I don't know about him in this state at that point.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no telling.
Right.
So Shanda instructed Paul in these text messages to make sure that the young child was either not home or like kept away from Timothy. So he couldn't see like this abuse that was going on, but he's in the same house.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy was kept in that basement closet with only a tarp and was monitored by cameras constantly by Shanda. So at work, she would monitor him from the cameras. And if Shanda logged on and noticed that Timothy was sleeping, she would text and instruct Paul to go in and wake him up and restrain him to make sure that he wasn't getting too comfortable. That's a quote.
What in the world?
She's sick.
Yes.
Paul was frequently told to shackle and handcuff Timothy and to taunt him with the food that he was eating. So, like, he would be eating food and would be like, "Doesn't this smell good, Timothy?" Well, that's what he was told to do. He was also told at one point to put this hot sauce on Timothy's genitals. As
oh, my
punishment.
gosh.
Paul was also instructed to put Timothy in an ice bath and leave him for hours as punishment for having an accident in his pants or for trying to sneak food or just to keep him awake and deprive him of sleep.
Well, there comes the hypothermia.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Paul was instructed to send photos of Timothy so that Shanda would know that he was doing what she instructed him to do. So like if she said restrain him, then he'd have to send a picture that he did that. If she said put him in an ice bath, he'd have to send a picture showing proof. In June, less than a month before Timothy's death, Paul sent his mom, Shanda, a photo of Timothy's emaciated body and said, quote, "We really should feed him, Mom." Shanda replied, "Give him bread with peanut butter. I see what you mean."
Oh my God. Just one piece.
Yeah.
Well, supposedly Paul did give him bread with peanut butter, but then also made him eggs, which he alleges he got punished for later.
Okay.
Police were able to obtain footage from all of the cameras in the home.
I was just going to say, there's so much proof with these cameras and these text messages and pictures that Paul's sending and both like, dang.
Yeah, for a smart lady, she's a real dumb
She's
person.
really leaving a trail.
Absolutely. And I will say that they were able to corroborate what was said in the text messages with things that they saw on the video. So like a text message would come through and 2 minutes later they would see it being carried out on the video, which is just super upsetting.
Yeah.
Okay. This is also really upsetting too. So trigger. On July 5th, Paul texted Shanda that Timothy was not responding well. So like he wasn't coherent. She instructed Paul to put him in an ice bath, which he did around 2 p.m. She told him to leave him there until she got home from work. She repeatedly checked in on the video cameras or asked for photos and would say things like he looked too comfortable, so he needed to move him around. Like, oh, he looks like he's falling asleep. He looks like he's comfortable. Do something to make him not comfortable. She also instructed Paul to get a reaction out of Timothy by teasing him with frozen pizza rolls. Like those Tostino things. Tortinos. Yeah, okay, there you go. At 6 p.m., Shanda, she came home from work, and then at 6 p.m., she drove Paul to work. I think, I can't remember, like a convenience store or something. And at that time, Timothy was still in the ice bath. So he's still there. He's been in there since 2 o'clock, right? Paul said that he got home from work around 1 a.m. And by that time, Timothy was in his closet, and Shanda was in bed. So he didn't see them. He just went to bed. The night before Timothy's death, on the cameras, Shanda can be seen dragging Timothy's body, wet, naked, into that closet in the basement and throwing him on the tarp. She called him stupid. She positioned him so that she could see him from the camera. He's barely coherent, by the way. Like, could not even walk on his own into this area. At some point, Timothy rolled over and he wasn't fully visible on the camera. So Shanda was seen going back in and repositioning him again. At that time, she brought the dog in and made the dog lick his face. Then she grabbed his mouth, like his face, and closed his mouth. I don't know what this is about. And she said, quote, "See, dummy, you don't need to open your mouth to breathe." I don't know what that's about.
Well,
maybe he was breathing too loudly or snoring or something like that. I don't know. Those were the last words that anyone ever spoke to Timothy. Was his own mother doing that.
My goodness.
The next morning, when Paul went to check on Timothy, he realized that he's dead. He's not breathing. He is not responsive. So he frantically called for his mom. He tried to help Timothy, like waking him up, shaking him. Paul kept saying, "We need to call 911. We need to call 911." And Shanda just kept responding, "Not yet. Nope, let's try to wake him up. Not yet." So after about 10 minutes of this, and 10 minutes of Paul urging her to call 911, Shanda can be heard saying, "Well, I guess I'm going to be late for work."
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
This woman is awful.
Awful. Mm-mm. So she calls 911 when it was clear, basically, that Timothy was dead. But it's too late at this point.
Right.
Pretty quickly, after all of this came out, Paul turned on his mom. And he began telling police everything, basically. He told him that they did abuse Timothy. He admitted to doing these things to him, that he had been punishing him, depriving him of sleep, and that had been going on for several months. He claimed that he only did so under the direct instruction of his mom and admitted to being afraid of her. And so he just did it because that's what she was ordering him to do.
Yeah, well, I was can't talk. A little bit curious about that, considering like she had been like investigated before. Like, I mean, if she's been like emotionally, mentally abusing Paul for his entire life, then maybe he truly was afraid of her, but just didn't know. I mean, he's an adult though, like didn't know how to stand up to her or whatever.
Right. That's what he's claiming, essentially.
Right.
I mean, I will say in the text messages, it is clear that none of this is Paul's idea. Like, Paul's not like, oh, I'm going to do this to him.
Right.
You know, it's all
He's
her
just
being like,
okay.
you need to do this. He's 100% complicit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
100%.
Like brainwashed.
Right.
Like brainwashed him.
Essentially, yeah. So he does seem terrified of her. And she's sadistic. Like, I'm scared of her.
Mm-hmm.
So she also, too, in the text messages would repeatedly like text Paul and be like, don't let Timothy win. Because if he wins, then you lose. Which is kind of indication of like, if you don't do what I'm telling you to, then it's on you and I'm going to punish you. Kind of thing. So Paul agreed to accept a plea deal for a lesser sentence. And in exchange, he would testify against his mom in court. Shanda's trial began in December of 2023. Paul did a great job of explaining all of the abuse that he was instructed to subject Timothy to. I watched the video of his testimony, all of it. It was really long. He literally looks terrified. Like, I'm not kidding you. I'm not saying we need to excuse his behavior. I'm really not. But like, he kept looking over at his mom. Like, they would ask him a question about her and like her abuse, and he would look over and would like shake, literally visibly shake, like just looking at her. It was just so sad. And they look so much alike too, Paul and Timothy, that it was like you can just see Timothy in him a little bit. Anyway, it was terrible to watch. So he explained that he felt like he had some sort of warped like Stockholm syndrome type relationship with his mom. So that's like Stockholm syndrome is when a hostage becomes like attached to their captor. Not attached even, almost like,
well, they don't want to leave them and they don't want to
dedicated
do
to
anything. Yeah.
Right. So that's how he said he feels now. After getting out of the situation, he was like, oh my gosh, I felt indebted to her for some reason, or like she owned me and I needed to pay her in this way. So Shanda, girlfriend, testified in her own defense. She said that the locks were on the fridge and freezer and pantry because at first Timothy would act out by eating raw hamburger meat or like raw chicken nuggets from the freezer. Which, fun fact, chicken nuggets aren't raw, but okay.
Right. Yeah.
And that he would steal like huge amounts of food from the pantry, like ridiculous amounts. Like he would eat like a pound of chicken nuggets in one sitting. And so they had to lock up the food to keep him from like getting sick, making himself sick. But it's like, well, isn't he on a hunger strike? Isn't that what you said before?
Yeah,
like he wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
So she claimed that Timothy would intentionally keep everyone in the house up all night long and would like walk around the house and set off alarms and open doors and slam doors and pound on stuff and scream and yell. And so that's why they locked him in the basement. So that he could get some sleep.
The video footage.
Right.
No, that's what she's an idiot.
Yeah.
Shanda blamed all of the abuse on Paul, who she said she trusted with caring for Timothy. And she claimed that she wasn't aware of how sick Timothy was because she had blood sugar problems and was overworked and exhausted. And so she just missed a lot.
Dude, there's text messages of you telling your child to do these things to him, not the other way around.
And cameras.
cameras everywhere of you dragging his body, and so you're so tired that you can drag his almost deceased body to the basement. Like whatever.
Yeah. She gets a big ol' M for moron.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the text message video evidence, they speak for himself. Every time the prosecution would ask her about a text message that she sent or about something that they saw on the video, she would respond literally every time. For like 4 hours, this is how she responded. Well, I don't remember saying that, but if you say so. Or I have no memory of that, but I mean, if that's what the text message says. That's how she responded to everything. It's like, woman.
Yeah.
So she said that while changing or bathing Timothy, that she would give him his privacy. So like she never actually saw him naked or whatever. And so she didn't realize how thin he was or that he was like actually starving to death.
He was told to do chores around the house naked.
Thank you. Well, no, that's when she was at work though.
She had cameras she checked in on.
Exactly. Yes, true. Exactly. So she repeatedly insisted, this is really going to piss you right off, that Timothy was faking all of his disabilities.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
What in the holy hell?
I know. I saved that for last for you.
Thanks.
So they did determine that Shanda had stopped giving Timothy his medications again, which helped him with functioning with his disabilities. And she said that never happened. She would give him his medication and just assumed he took it. But okay.
Well, where's the pile that he was keeping off to the side when he wasn't taking it? Like, come on.
Right. Like he had freedom to go flush things down the toilet. He only had 1 minute to pee, honey.
Yeah. Right.
So Timothy's autopsy photos of his terribly emaciated body were so disturbing that they could not even show them in open court.
Wow.
That tells you right there. The judge actually said that he looked like a Holocaust victim.
Oh my gosh. That's
so
awful.
He was like, you don't need to see these pictures. I mean, the jury saw them, but like the people in the courtroom, they didn't like put them up on the screen like they normally would crime scene photos. So they were shown while Shanda was testifying. So when she was shown the photos, they brought the photos to her to like, we're showing these to the jury and here's what they're seeing. She started throwing up, like violently throwing up, and could not get herself together. So bad that she had to be escorted from the courtroom and was not well enough to come back in.
She's an amazing actress. She deserves an award.
Yeah.
I saw this happen.
It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You didn't notice all that.
Insane.
That's how bad it was, but you couldn't see it. You were so tired you didn't see it that bad until those pictures.
Right. Your blood sugar. So even when the verdict was being read, she was not back in the courtroom. Which, fun fact, she had a right to refuse being present for a verdict being read, which I've never known a person to do that before. But
there's another one of mine that refuses to be in the courtroom, and the judge is orders him to be in the courtroom or something. I can't remember.
So I've heard of that happening during like victim impact statements.
Yeah, no, this was for his verdict.
Huh.
Whatever. I can't remember what case it was. I'll figure it out.
Okay. After 1 hour of deliberation, the jury unanimously found Shanda von der Art guilty of murder and child abuse. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 50 to 100 years.
Good. So why did it take an hour? Sorry.
I know, right? Well, they may have broke for lunch or something.
Yeah.
When being sentenced, the judge put a photo up of Timothy as a healthy, bright-eyed young child and said that after seeing the autopsy photos, he wanted the jury and everyone else in the courtroom to remember Timothy that way and not dead in the hands of his mother and brother. I'll post that picture.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's very sweet. Both of Timothy's older siblings, Nolan and Millie, gave victim impact statements during the sentencing. They talked about how much they loved their brother, and Millie said that she will forever regret not putting her differences with her mother aside to check in on Timothy more and make sure that he was safe. They both asked that their mom spend her life in prison. Eric, Timothy's dad, has never given a statement or spoken publicly about his murder. Adam, Shanda's husband, at the time of the murder, immediately filed for divorce after her arrest and for custody of their son, Gabriel. But Adam sadly passed away in February of 2023 due to leukemia. So Gabriel is being raised by his parents. In 2024, Paul Ferguson, brother, pled guilty to first-degree child abuse. He was labeled by the prosecution as the enforcer, which is true. He was sentenced to 30 to 100 years in prison. Shanda is currently being held at the Women's Huron Valley Correction Facility in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And Timothy's body was laid to rest in Mint Hill, North Carolina, nearby where he was born. And that is the case of Timothy Ferguson.
That was ridiculous. Like, literally.
Sorry.
Don't even have
Very
any words.
Can I ask, how much was what was the plea deal that Paul got? Like, what was his deal?
He had to testify for her and then got 30 to 100 years in prison.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So I was like, oh, how much time does he have?
Yeah, so I think we missed that part.
Oh no, did I cut out or something? Yeah, 30 to 100 years was his sentence. So he will be eligible for parole at some point. And it was first-degree child abuse was his charge.
Okay.
So he didn't get a murder charge.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know that he deserves it per se, especially if he had some sort of like had been controlled by her for so long that was just like the way it is. I mean, if that's the way you're raised, then you don't know any different. But
yeah, I mean, that's a gray area because you feel bad for him.
It is. No, it is. Right.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like he sent a photo a month before Timothy died and was like, look at him. We need to feed him, Mom. So that's awareness, in my opinion, that the kid is starving to death.
Yeah.
So again, it's a gray area.
I agree. There was that part. Yeah, for sure. Oh, that was just terrible, and it's awful, and I'm sorry that was your first experience with an actual case.
Yeah, I
thanks,
know.
guys.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
When I was researching, I didn't know, so sorry. They're not all that dark. That's not true. They're all dark and awful.
No,
They're
they're just not all about disabled kids that, like Kelly has a heart for. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks. Yeah.
Babies. Well, it's important to tell their stories, and it's important to find red flags and warning signs and be aware of women like her. I mean, it's awful, but like she secluded him. He was homeschooled. He didn't have contact with anybody. I did see in one source too that like grandparents at some point were even like, can we see Timothy? And she was like, oh no, he's not feeling well, or like excuse after excuse or whatever. So she was isolating him, totally isolating him. I believe she was controlling both of her boys and probably that little one too.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know. He's too young to talk about it. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's awful and sad and terrible, and she sucks and will rot in prison and then hell.
Yeah. I'm glad that she got what she deserves too. And gosh, because she was like doing something with her life. Like she was going to be a lawyer. I mean, I don't even know. That's just makes my blood boil. All of it makes me nauseous. Like,
and zero
nauseous,
motive.
Fake nauseous. Right.
You know, like what was her motive? To just be sadistic. Like this is her child. These are her children.
Well, and I tend to believe that it was because of his like the autism and whatever else. Like it was like she just didn't want to have to deal with him anymore. So this is her way, because it's not like she was doing that extreme to her other children.
But if she just gave him his medication, it would be less to have to deal with.
Well, I understand, but she probably knows she would have to deal with him for the rest of her life unless she put him in a home and then had to pay for that. And so this was just like, and she knew he was not compliant, but like was more compliant than everybody else would have been if she was doing it to them.
Right.
So like 100%, I feel like this is all because of his disabilities. And
well, sure.
yeah. Anyway, it's gross.
Yeah, she sucks terribly. People. So thank you. Happy
the hell's
catastrophe.
Her name again?
Shanda Vander Ark.
Shanda. Ugh. Anyway, I couldn't even remember her name because I hated her so much.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. We don't need to say her name. We need to say Timothy's name.
Yes. Timothy. Let's remember Timothy. I cannot wait to see a picture of healthy, happy Timothy.
Yes. Yeah, very sweet. It's very sweet. Yeah. Super cute kid. Oh my God, so cute.
Yes. Oh, man. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for diving in, and happy catastrophe. Gosh. Thanks, I guess.
I know. It makes me want to go back and see what other cases she sent in and if they're like similar, or, like ones? Maybe she has a heart for cases like that too. I don't know. So
yeah, maybe. Well, but thanks for handling that. That would have been hard, I think. I don't even know if I would have been able to do it. I would have been bleh. And thanks for joining us, Kelly.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
It's been fun.
Sorry to ruin your day.
Not been fun. Well, see, being with you guys has been fun. This case was not fun.
No, it's not fun.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Thanks for hanging in there with us on this one, everyone. Maybe if you did, maybe you didn't. But go check us out on social media, see a picture of Timothy, and come over and check out our Patreon if you so choose. $3 a month, extra stuff, just as awful as this.
Sometimes worse, sadly.
Sometimes worse, yeah. And leave us a review if you would like. Haven't had one of those in a little bit, so go ahead and send us a review or on Apple. And always remember, the world is scary. People suck, especially Shanda.
Ugh,
and hide in your closets.